Hi guys, it's Pipi standing here. You're welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be making these beautiful pants. Okay, so here I'm marking out my waistline, waist to hip, waist to crotch, my waist to knee line, and then the full length of the pants. Okay, and I took out 1 inch because I'll be adding a band to this pants. So to determine your crotch depth, divide your hip by 4. Okay, if you're on a plus size, you might want to add ½ inch for ease. Okay, so I'm just marking out my lines. Okay, so next I'm marking my hip circumference divided by 4 on the crotch line, and I added 1.5 inches seam allowance, and I mark the same thing as well on the waist, and I'm going to connect it with a straight line. Okay, so for our crotch extension, I'm going to be dividing whatever value I have on this point. I'm going to be dividing it by 4. Okay, so I folded my tape once and I folded it again, so I got about 3 inches, and I'm going to put it here, which is going to be our crotch extension. Okay, so coming over to the waist, I'm going to be coming inwards by 1 inch. Okay, and then on this part I'm going to be coming out by 1 inch as well, and I'm going to connect these 3 dots using my curve ruler. Okay, so here I'm just trying to smoothen the curve around that part. Okay, so this line is no longer in use. So on the waist, I'm going to be taking the waist measurements. Waist circumference divided by 4 is 8.5. Then I'm adding 1.5 for seam allowance as well. So if you're going to be adding that to your front piece, you should be adding the seam allowance here, but I'm not adding that to my front piece, so I'm just going to connect it to the hip point. Okay, and also on this part I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch. Okay, and on this part I will come up by ½ an inch. Okay, this helps the waistline to sit in place to avoid any kind of bulging around the waistline. I'm going to be dividing these 2 points into 2. Okay, and I'm going to mark it like so. Measuring it, I have 8 inches, so I'm going to be marking the same 8 inches all the way to the hemline, and I'm going to be connecting it with a straight line. Okay, so this line here is going to be our green line. So on this part I'm coming inwards by ½ an inch. Okay, and I'm going to connect it back to the waistline, to the hip line, sorry. Okay, so now to determine how wide you want your palazzo to be, you can take it straight from here. Okay, so but I don't want this particular one to be very wide, so I'm going to be marking 7 inches on the both sides of the green line. Okay, 7 inches. Remember, this is our knee line, so I'm marking 7 inches on both sides of the green line. Okay, I'll be marking the same 7 inches all the way to our hemline. Okay, that's how wide I want the palazzo to be. So like I said, you can make yours wider, you can make yours a little smaller than this. Okay, so I'm going to be connecting this to our hemline. and from the knee line, I'm going to use a curve and connect it to our crotch. And this is basically it for our front pattern. Okay, so now I'm going to be cutting this out. To cut the back piece, I folded my fabric into two, and I'm going to be using this front pattern as a guide. Okay, so I gave about 1 inch space around here, about 3 inches space around the crotch and around the waist as well. So here I'm extending my lines, okay, and I'm also going to extend the line around the crotch area and also on the knee. So coming over to the waist area, okay, I'm going to be coming inwards from this center waistline. I'm going to be coming inward by 1 inch, okay, and on this part I will go upwards by 2 inches. Remember, we took out 1 inch from the waist, front waist, so we're going to be adding extra 1 inch, making it a total of 2. Then on this crotch curve I came out by 1 inch. Then on the crotch line here, 2.5 inches. So I'm also going to come downwards by 1/2 inch on this crotch line. Okay, so I'm going to be connecting this and this with a curved ruler, just like so. This part, I'm going to now measure my waist measurements. Okay, I'm going to be tilting my tape. I'm not keeping it straight. I bent it a little bit to be touching the front waistline. I'm going to mark my waist circumference divided by 4, that's 8.5. I added 1.5 seam allowance, and I'm also adding 1 inch for darts. Okay, I'm going to be adding that to this back part, to this back piece. So I'm going to connect it just like so. I'm just going to cut this part out. Coming over to the hip line, I'm going to be marking 1 inch all the way to our hemline, just like so. And then I'm going to connect the lines. And on this part, on the knee line, I'm going to also be marking 1 inch all the way to the hemline. Okay, and I'm going to connect it to the crotch, just like so, and then I'll cut it out. And this is it for our back piece. Okay, so I'm going to set it aside. So for the front piece, okay, remember that one leg of the pants, of the front part, has button. So we're going to be cutting the two pieces separately. Okay, so for the first piece, I'm going to be cutting it out with the pattern just the way it is. Okay, this is it. I've cut it out. Okay, this is for one leg of the pants. Okay, the part that doesn't have the button. Okay, so now to achieve that button part, so you're going to be slashing this pattern paper into 2 from the grain line. Okay, notice that I extended the grain line all the way to the waist, so I'm going to be cutting it just like so. Okay, next I'm going to place it on my fabric, and I'm holding it all down with pin. Okay, so I'm placing this other leg to be sure just to make sure that I'm placing my pattern correctly. Please check it, okay, so that you won't cut this piece wrong. Okay, you have to make sure that the right sides are facing each other. Okay, here I'm adding 2 inches allowance to this part. Okay, so the both pieces are going to be having this 2 inches allowance. This allowance is going to be for the button and the buttonhole. Okay, please watch carefully to see how I'm cutting this out. Okay, so I'm taking out my pattern paper. Okay, and this is what the piece looks like. So here I'm going to fold this part, okay, and also fold this part as well. So one will be serving for the button and the other will be serving for the buttonhole. So I'm gonna ahead to hold this down. Okay, I use the hemming gum first to secure it. Okay, so this is how they're going to overlap on each other. Okay, so I'm going to go and hold this part, this waist part down, and I'm going to hold this other part with pin for now. Okay, so this is the other front leg. Okay, so I'm just placing it over this one to make sure that they are equal. So, and this cutout here is where I'll be attaching the pocket. Okay, I'm going to go and stitch this place down with 1/2 inch. Okay, and I'm also going to stitch this for the back as well. Okay, so this is the front when I'm done stitching it along that crotch depth. Next, I'm going to get my pocket pieces and I will be attaching my pocket. Okay, so this is the main pocket and this is the facing for the pocket. I have 2 pieces for each. So for this one, I'm going to place it just like so, right side facing each other, and I'm going to go and sew it with 1/2 inch. Okay, so here I've gone ahead to stitch it down, and I also top stitch. So when you fold it in, this is what it looks like. So we're going to turn it over to this back part. Okay, so bringing the facing, I'm going to be placing it, the right side should be facing outwards. Okay, so I'm going to place it like so, and I'm going to go and sew it with 1/2 inch along this part. Okay, so I'm done stitching the pocket, and this is what it looks like, as you can see, and this is what it looks like from the inside. Okay, so I'm going to go and hold that waist with stitch. So now I'm going to bring my back, this is the back part, and I'm going to be placing it over the front just like so, and I'm going to be closing the side first. So I'll be closing it with 1 inch. Okay, so here I've gone ahead to stitch it down and ironed it open. So on this part I sewed it with a loose stitch because I will be attaching a zipper to it. Okay, so on this part I'm going to be opening this. Okay, and I'm going to place the both together, making sure that this line aligns. Okay, and I'm going to hold it down with pin. So from this crotch part I'm going to go and stitch it down. Okay, you may want to take your thigh measurements while stitching here. Okay, depending, so you can get how loose or how fitted you want it to be. Okay, so I'm going to go and stitch it all the way to the hemline. So right here I'm done stitching everything down. Okay, and I'm just trimming out the little excesses that I have around that part. Okay, so here our pant is gradually coming together. So next is to attach the band on the waist. Okay, so I cut out this piece, folded it into two, is about 2 inches when folded into two, and I'm going to go and sew it around the waistline. So here I've gone ahead to stitch the band, attach my zipper, and on this opening here I'm going to be attaching this button to it. Okay, and this is the finished look. See how beautiful and elegant this palazzo is looking. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, and subscribe. See you guys in my next video. Bye.